Doorkeeper, could you close the doors? Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Appropriations Higher Education Subcommittee to order. Since we're the first on the list, and I know there are quite a few subcommittees right after us, I'd like to go ahead and get started. John's here, good. And I hope y'all have the tracking sheets. What I'd like to do is highlight some of the changes that were made, if that's okay. Does everyone have their tracking sheet? Good. Okay. To begin with, on page 140.1.4, there was a change for several positions in the specialty industry of agriculture and food production. Those were changes, and those were two adds, $247,000 on one, and then the other one is in the poultry nutrition specialist, a highly specialized area, and poultry researchers. Those positions fill specific needs, and that was another add of almost $600,000. On the next page, 40.7.5. This was money for the Georgia Archives. That was $23,515 that apparently was still in the Secretary of State's funds, and we just got them and put them where they were supposed to be. If I'm not mistaken, I think those were donated funds, and so we're putting them where they need to be and used for what they were designed to be used for. Continuing on that, 40.10.1, there was a correction, just an error from the Marine Institute and the, the Marine Resources Extension Center. Those were corrected. It was for $4,667 and $9,970, and those were inverted in error, so that's just to correct a mistake. Moving on to 40.13.5. Okay, we went to a new item for the public libraries, and we're not going to implement this at this time. A delay into implementation, and so it's a zero. On 40.14.3, these monies for the expansion of the Rome clinical campus, that $784,000 is going to be added to the teaching formula, and you'll see it further down on this list. Also, doing the same thing for the clinical campus and for we've moved those funds, the approximately $2.5 million, also into the teaching program where it has a better fit. Underneath that, under 40.14.6, this $400,000 ad was to implement some training for the new entertainment facilities that have been built in Fayette County. I don't know if you are aware. You should be aware of Pinewood Studios investing quite a bit of money and hiring quite a few of Georgia citizens, and so this will be some training, technical training, for, so that they can get those jobs. I might add that Pinewood has the franchise for 007 and for Harry Potter. Moving on to page 5, 40.18.10. This was the Competitive Edge program. It's a small business incubator. It's a $900,000 ad, and to help us in developing small business so that we can put Georgians to work. Okay, moving to student finance. As y'all know, the Excel program is a dual enrollment program, and what we're doing there is spending a little bit of money now, and we're going to true this up at a later date as the numbers become more accurate. Okay, under 44.10.1, low interest loans. These, we're shifting some of the monies from that. These are lottery funds, and we're moving that program to some of the money, I think $1 million, to the low interest loans for technical colleges. And as y'all are aware, the technical college program is a new program that was recommended by the governor. All right. Okay, and last in the changes on page 11 is 46.4.6. We said no to these changes, which is the $3.6 million. We reduced that by $3.6 million because this was to provide books for technical college students. Currently, no students in higher education receive books, and so we didn't think it'd be fair for for technical college students to get them and university students not to get them. And those are the changes. If there are any questions, I'll be delighted to try to answer them.
No questions. I move we approve. Second.
Move a second. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, well, let's have a vote. All those in favor of passing the budget as is, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. We're next. Yes, ma'am.
This process is illegal. You didn't let me second.
I'm sorry. You could have. We could have had multiple seconds.
Sorry, Representative Yates. I have you as the second. I'm putting you in.
Where do I sign? Where do you want me to do? Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Subcommittee on Appropriations for General Government. I ask members of the committee to turn to, if our pages are correct, page 4. Audits at 4.1.4 is a $1 million add due to a 20% turnover. They had requested, the department had requested a $2.2 million. The House is going to offer $1.1 million for recruitment and retention. Next, Department of Administrative Services. I'm working off two separate documents here. 12.1 Aviation Authority. That is a $106,000 reduction. That reflects a change in the flight hours that is anticipated down from 400 flight hours. Next, for members of the committee, we turn to Banking and Finance, section 14.3.3. There was discussion in regards to recruitment and retention as well. The department had asked for $184,000. We as a committee agreed to give them half that much. That'll be an addition then of, or subtraction of, $92,250. Department of Driver Services, 20.2.6. That's to provide funds for personal services. That's an addition to the Bainbridge Customer Service Center, local partnership in the amount of $100,000. On 20.2.7 is the elimination of one-time funds of $200,000. That was broadband lines that were technology upgrades that were completed and therefore not needed this year. Office of the Governor. Page 13 is the Office of the State Inspector General. You may have it as page 12. 26.11.3 is provide funds for one investigator position. That's an addition in the amount of $52,000 and change. Next is the Department of Natural Resources. I'm going to call the committee's attention to several different places: 33.7.3, 33.9.3, as well as 33.6.4. These are funds that will provide the final installment of the 3-year phase-in for career ladder improvements, pay raises in law enforcement to the tune of $1.7 million. That's the third and final installment at the Department of Natural Resources, long overdue. Been promised some time ago, and we're proud to be able to deliver that. Page 22. Funds within the Secretary of State offices, in corporations, office administrations, and professional licensing board, and securities. Funds will be used there, transferred to make a upgrade through bonded for technology upgrades to the Secretary of State's office. Included in this, and the one I'd like to bring your attention to the most, is 42.4.4. which is recognizing $1 million to fill, authorize, and begin implementation of House Bill 315 for, as you know, the Professional Licensing Board, and putting money in that program is something that we're trying to find a way to do. And then finally, on the last page, workers' compensation. That is a redirect payment of $575,000 to the state treasury from Workers' Compensations Board. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move we approve.
Motion to approve.
Pass, do
Second.
pass.
Any discussion? Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Full committee hearing in the morning. Thank you.
Okay, we will call this meeting of the Education Subcommittee of Appropriations to order. Does each member have a copy of the tracking document? Everybody has it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will, just as a point of reference, as we go through this, we will be only highlighting those areas where we have made a change from the governor's recommendation. And on that note, in the first section, section 21, with early care and learning, there were no changes. So we go now to section 23, Department of Education. In 23.1.4, we are moving to annualize the extended day, extended year addition of $158,319. And in 23.1.5, to increase the funds for ag education programs in Murray and Thomas counties in the amount of $330,000. And then the next section that we have a change is 23.5, communities and schools. The recommendation is to add an additional $100,000 to that line item. Okay. 23.8.4, under Georgia Virtual School, recommendation is to reduce the $800,000 allotment to $600,000 for the continued development of K-5 courses. And then right below that, 23.8.5 is a transfer, $315,000 for blended learning trainers. We're recommending to move that from the virtual school section of the budget to the REISs. So that is a transfer out, $315,000. And the next modification is in section 2311. And it would be line item 2311.3, which is the funds for the sparsity grants. As you know, there's 34 newly qualified schools, and in order to make that program work, we have recommended putting in a hold harmless for the original 21, and that amount is an additional $676,830, taking that appropriation up to $3,193,150. And right below that, in 23.11.4, an increase of funds for the enrollment in residential treatment centers, a change to the formula to deals with the paraprofessionals, to moving that to a ratio of 1 to 5, which will cause an additional amount of $602,000 in that line item, taking it to $906,827. The next item is in 23.14, Quality Basic Education Equalization. That's simply a true up of the numbers. Equalization will be fully funded under this, and that number then becomes an additional $5,652,647. Under Quality Basic Education Program, line 2316.2, again, a true up of the numbers. That reduces that slightly to $100,806,240. And that will cover growth of 21,000 new students and 292 teachers and step increases. And then on 2316.6, we are recommending to annualize the savings as we did in the 2014 budget and 2014 amended to reflect the calculation without the health insurance, which drops that number to $5,492,289. And moving to the REISs, Regional Education Service Agencies, on line 23.17.3, you see an increase of funds for technology support in the amount of $640,000, reflecting the ability for each REISA to add a half-time person for technology support. And directly below that is the transfer in of the blended learning trainers, $315,464. And the next line item is in 2318.5. We are recommending to not increase the additional support for school improvement, so we've taken that $131,000 out. And then on line item 2319.3 and the GNETs, again, a true up in the calculation, simply truing up the numbers, and that's a reduction of about $46,000 there. And the next one is in technology and career education. Two changes there on 23.5, and again, annualizing the extended day, extended year. $158,319, and then 23.6, funds for program enhancements, $592,000 there. In the testing line, 23.24.6, the test development section, this reflects a reduction of $1.25 million in that area. And again, if when those contracts are let, it requires more funds, we can handle that with the 15 amended budget. That's all of the changes in the education section. Then there are no changes in section 24, ERS. There are no changes beyond what the governor has recommended in section 26, which is the Office of the Governor, which includes professional standards, and OAS. And then the only other one is TRS, and there's no changes there. So if there are any questions from the committee?
No, sir.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move that we do accept the budget as presented. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and that concludes our action.
Real fast.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Chairman Houston is not able to join us. She's presenting a bill presently, so I'll be filling in her stead. What we'll do is we'll go through the track sheet for the Economic Development Subcommittee of Appropriations. You should have a copy of that in front of you, committee members. We'll go by the pages, and I'll just highlight the changes we're making to the governor's recommendations. On page, your first page here of the FY15 budget, line 13.2.5, we have an increase in funds for the personal services to reflect the consumer protection inspector's salary adjustments of $556,741. And then we also are filling 8 vacancies in the department at over $336,000. We're going to utilize existing funds in a contract with the Department of Revenue to monitor the gate compliance program. Department of Administration, line 13.3.4, we're transferring funds to consolidate administrative functions between the Department of Agriculture and the Soil and Water Conservation Commission. The savings there will be, state funds will be $7,500. Sorry, $75,000, excuse me. Line 13.4.4, providing marketing funds to the Georgia Grown program, $150,000. Page 2, line 13.6.4, we're transferring funds and 26 positions from the Soil and Water Conservation Commission to consolidate operations with the Department of Agriculture for state funds of almost $2 million, $1.9 million. If you'll turn to page 6 out of the 12, line 22.3.3, there's an increase in matching funds for the National Endowment of the Arts. It's a federal grant. Of course, this is from the Georgia Council of the Arts, amount of $25,000. Next page, on page 7, there are changes under tourism. This is 22.8.3. We're eliminating a one-time funded position for special education project. It's a $100,000 reduction. There's an increase in funds to the Historic Chattahoochee Commission, $5,000. Increase in funds for the Georgia Historical Society and their marker program of $10,000, and an increase in funds for Georgia Humanities Council, and likewise of $10,000. Page 8, we also have a change on line 25.3.3. This is provide funding to begin an employee retention plan for rangers, chief rangers, foresters, and forester inventory analysis personnel at just over $1.8 million. On page 9, we're going to change and add a position with the utilities regulation for PSC. This is line 39.3.3, and this is to provide funds for one specialist for the plant local cost overview, $90,000. Madam Chair, would you like to take over?
No, you go ahead. You're doing a great job. Thanks.
She didn't see all the blunders I made at the beginning. So, on page 10, under Conservation of Agriculture Water Supplies, here you'll see that we're transferring funds for 6 positions to the Department of Agriculture to consolidate the soil and water conservation activities. We're reducing funds at a little over $140,000. We're transferring the remaining funds of $90,000 to the Department of Agriculture. And we're going to be eliminating positions here. We're going to eliminate 10 vacant positions and 2 filled positions. Essentially, we're moving 2 filled positions beyond the governor's recommendation. On line 47.6.3, we're adding additional state funds, general funds for airport aid to match federal funds in the amount of $4.45 million. We will utilize the remaining funds for airport aid projects. Those are all the changes to the governor's recommendations. Any questions, or do I have a motion? Do I have a second? The recommendation for due pass and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.